President Trump hosting a dinner with top holders of his meme coin. It's the latest crypto-friendly event of the new administration. And joining us now to talk about DC's embrace of crypto, as well as pending stablecoin legislation known as the Genius Act, not the Stable Genius Act, not yet anyway. Tether CEO Paolo Ardoino. Tether is the world's largest stablecoin issuer by market cap, and I guess we should just start by explaining exactly what Tether is. Not everybody knows exactly how it works. You're number one. It's pegged to the U.S. dollar, usually pegged to fiat. Yep. But then you can put it on the blockchain, on Ethereum or something, and do what people think Bitcoin was going to do all along, and that is do these seamless, frictionless transactions around the world. Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. Tether is the company that created the first stablecoin in 2014. Stablecoin is a digital asset, but it's a digital dollar. So in 2014, we look at this great technology called blockchain. And we thought, okay, instead of creating yet another token, as many do, we put the most used currency in the world on top of this beautiful technology called blockchain. And that currency was the US dollar. So since then, for the first 6 years, USDT has been used as the most predominant asset for cryptocurrency trading. But in 2020, with the advent of the pandemic and national economies going down the bin in all the emerging markets in developing countries, the adoption of USDT as the digital dollar for all the hundreds of millions of people, the billions of people that are called unbanked or underbanked around the world skyrocketed. So as of today, we have more than 420 million users across the emerging markets in developing countries, and we are growing at the pace of 30 million new wallets per quarter, almost like we were Facebook in a certain sense, because the interest of having a stable currency when you live in Turkey, where you have inflation of 50% year over year, or like in Argentina, where the Argentina peso lost 98% of its value against the US dollar, is just astronomical. So it's also, our growth is word of mouth.
But the US dollar devalues too over time. And I guess so many questions to ask. You have 120 billion in treasuries backing. It's not like a meme coin. This is backed by more than the amount of tokens that you've issued. You're holding more in U.S. treasuries, 1.1 times as much.
So we have 152 billion in
152 now
in issued tokens, and we have 172 billion in total reserves. We have more than 125 billion in U.S. treasuries, and the rest is very, very high liquid assets. We own more treasuries than Germany. Well, Tether is not a nation, but if we were a nation, we would be the 18th largest nation holding U.S. treasuries. We have more treasuries than Germany, UAE, Spain, Australia. And we are growing. Our approach is keep growing our U.S. treasuries base. We only keep the short maturity, like less than around 90 days. We think that is the best approach to create the most solid digital currency in the world.
If this is all above ground, it sounds like everybody's winning here, because you emphasize it's a force multiplier for the U.S. dollar. It's not going to supplant the U.S. dollar. It actually enhances the attractiveness, I guess, or the leading. As the leading currency of the world, it probably adds to that. And I would think that the U.S. would be happy someone's holding our treasuries if we're worried about, sovereigns or other countries, lightening up on treasuries. You might be the people buying the treasuries.
Well, last year, in 2024, Tether was the 5th largest purchaser of U.S. treasuries. When you have Japan that needs to defend the Japanese yen, or like China that they are selling T-bills at a very fast pace. I think that we are proving with Tether that we are a company that created three new important features for currency. Okay. The first one is financial inclusion, with 420 million people using our product that they have been underserved by the traditional financial system. That is a great feature. But then on top of that, we are spreading the US dollar hegemony. I think that we are the stronghold for the US dollar hegemony. When we are in Africa, in Central South America, there is very little US presence, but there is a lot of BRICS presence. And on top of that, there is Tether.
I trust you, but I'd still like to verify.
Well, I was going to ask you on the verification. So I believe back in March, you said that there was going to be a big four accounting firm that was going to do an audit of your reserves, effectively. Is there a timeline for that? Do we know when that's going to happen? How comprehensive? Is that going to be a public audit of any sort?
So here's what is going to happen. In March, the 3rd of March, we hired, of 2025, we hired our new CFO. He comes from a very important background, comes from Letter One. He's an expert in contentious audits. I don't think ours should be contentious, but still, I think we got the best-in-class CFO. And also, given the change of direction of the new administration in the U.S., last year, having Senator Warren basically saying, you are an auditing firm, you should not touch crypto and especially stablecoins with a 10-foot pole, that was very hard to get anyone on board, right? No, now we are seeing a change of direction, so it's not up to me to set the timeline because I see these big four auditing firms actually being interested and have opened a dialogue with us. We are in discussions, and that is our top priority.
How tough is it to do that? How tough is it to do that, to do what Andrew's asking?
For us, it's not tough. I mean, we do a quarterly attestation. That is, by the way, the industry standard. The other stable coins, they don't have their reserves audited as well, right? It would be unfair to single out Tether in this process. There is an administration that really was very against that.
But just so I understand, so because I read that story back in March saying that you were in talks with a big four accounting firm. Since then, have you hired a firm to do this work?
We are very in good progress with that. I'm very positive.
Well, let me ask a question. Just given all the questions, why wouldn't you hire them and say, in a month from now, you need to put out a report right this second? Just because I would assume if everything is as good as you say, that would be actually helpful to your business.
Well, they still believe that there is a reputational risk, right? Again, they went from an administration that was very aggressive against crypto, with OCC being against crypto and now turning in favor of crypto. There was Operation Choke Point 2.0. The same people that are managing the big four auditing firms are very, very cautious. So again, being onboarded with the big four auditing firm for the purpose of audit is a long process and requires them to become comfortable with the new landscape that is changing.
And that's about them putting their reputation behind your numbers. That's what I'm saying. So you're saying they're not convinced yet that they want to do that work?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they are not even started to look at our numbers. We have a public attestation that is a quarterly one, is done by BDO, that is the 5th largest auditor in the world, and is very thorough, is independently confirming our assets. Our assets are very easy. We have a certain number of issued tokens, and we have treasuries and a few other assets in our reserves. So we are very, very transparent. We had Cantor Fitzgerald for 2 years. They went through the most thorough certification of what we have in our reserves. They counted every single dime. They turned every single rock. We had our Latnik last year in 2024 going publicly saying, I see their reserves. I see their money. So it's not difficult, but it requires them.
Well, that's where I was going next. You mentioned Howard Lutnick and Cantor Fitzgerald. He is now obviously the Commerce Secretary. Do you feel that he's advocating for you inside the administration? What's that relationship like now, and how should the public think about that?
Well, we have a Chinese wall between us in this moment. There could be conflict of interest, so we are not allowed to talk to him. Yet we maintain a great relationship with Cantor Fitzgerald. We custody all our treasuries there. They are a great firm. They are the first firm that in Wall Street started to really care about Bitcoin.
Well, you're based in El Salvador, and I guess we'll have some regulation here, but you can understand why people would certainly want to know more and have a lot more transparency. I think that's what we're getting at. And I would think that isn't the Trump coin sort of a competitor to you eventually, or not?
Well, it's different, right? Trump coin is a meme coin.
Not that one, the stable coin. Liberty, whatever it's called.
Yeah, World Liberty Finance, I think you're referring to. We welcome competitors. This night I saw that big banks are going after our business model. Well, actually not our business model. I think that mostly the difference is that we serve the people that the banks would not touch with a 10-foot pole, not because they are bad people, just because they are too poor of being of their interest. All the hundreds of millions of people living in Africa and in Kenya, Nigeria, and all that, right? So I'm very confident.